are today with Ashley Vaughan. She's the Senior
Development Manager of Host Accounts.
She just told me, she said it's a really long title because she's so important. So she's with Trafalgar, and we're going to ask her some questions today about group travel. Thank you for being here, Ashley.
Thank you.
So basically, I'm going to go through my negatives on group travel, and we're going to talk about that. So I don't want to be on a bus with 700 people, and the guy next to me is over it's going to be like an airplane in a bus.
An airplane in a bus, I like that. So I agree, that would really be terrible. The motor coaches that we use are 54 seats, but we don't fill them all, so there's a lot of space to stretch out. We always rotate the seats around so everybody has a different view every day. But what I like best is that you're not really on the motor coach that much. So it's just transportation from one place to the next. If you think about a trip where you're going from Rome to Florence to Venice, you got to get from Rome to Florence somehow. And so you could either drive yourself in a car or you can get into a motor coach and let somebody else do the driving for you. You get to sit back, relax. We got Wi-Fi on board, so you can Snapchat, you can get on Facebook, you can Instagram, you can do whatever you want. You could watch movies if you wanted to. So it's really relaxed kind of thing. It's not, you're forced to see the whole country from the coach.
So are we assigned seats?
Not always. Sometimes they'll put like a seating chart on there just so everybody can kind of pick an area, and then they'll move it around every day.
So like, will if I be with my husband or my kids,
yes.
Or they're going to be like, no, you can't be that way.
You're always with the people that you're traveling with. So the seats are configuration of 2 and 2, and you might have your kids across from you one day, they might be behind you one day, but you'll always be together as you move around.
So what if I'm with a larger group? If I'm a family group, is my mom going to be on a different coach?
Nope. So I actually just traveled with 13 of my family members on our trip to Spain.
How was that?
It was awesome. And when we were on the coach, we moved as a giant block around. So we were always together. It was really nice.
So you weren't separated at all?
Nope.
And it wasn't an issue?
No, not at all.
Huh. All right. I might be buying this. So in group travel, is my husband like on a cruise? My husband, you can hear the water in the background. I don't know why I said that. On a cruise, so my husband packs the night before, and you got to have your luggage out, and it's very stringent. Mm-hmm. And if we're catching a train, he's carrying all the luggage from one train to the other because we always get on the wrong one. Ask him, he does. He's behind the camera. So how does that happen?
So that's the thing I love most about guided trips is that you never touch your luggage. From the time that you get into the destination, you pick up your bags from baggage claim, you walk outside, somebody takes it from you, and you never have to carry it anywhere else. And when you get into a hotel, you need to set it out in the morning. So if we're leaving that day and going to the next location, they'll say your baggage needs to be out by, say, 7 o'clock in the morning. So I always recommend, a great tip is to have a separate little bag where you have like just your overnight things and what you're going to wear the next day.
Medicines and
so you're not
like that.
Unpacking everything. You're just taking what you need, putting it in the small bag and getting it out of that. You put your suitcase outside, they take it down, they put it into the coach, you make sure that your luggage is on there, and they take it everywhere, which is great, especially in Europe.
So I don't have to touch it.
You don't have to touch it. And in Europe, the hotels are older properties, the elevators are small, the stairways are small, so our big American luggage doesn't always fit very well. So the fact that somebody else wrestles it is awesome.
Right. So I think you guys have seen in the pictures, Kenny was in an elevator with 2 pieces of luggage, and that's all. That was it. We all had to take a separate elevator because none of it was fitting.
And you could have all been in an elevator together on a Trafalgar trip.
If we were on a Trafalgar trip, we could have all had that experience together, which is kind of funny.
The other nice thing, talking about trains, so we do have trips that you can take by train.
No, you guys know I prefer train travel in Europe.
It's not always by motor coach, and so on the train trips, what I love is that we take you to the platform. We take you to the car, and we tell you exactly which seats we have. So you can sit anywhere within the carriage in those seats. You're never going to get on the wrong train.
So Kenny's behind the camera, and he's like, yes, me. Because he's the one carrying luggage for 3 women, and from train to...
from station to station, platform to platform.
But from the one train, and then he's got to go through the doors, and he's got to get to the other train. So he says, hey, find our seats, let me know where I got to end up with all this luggage, because he's traveling with 3 women and it's an issue. The eyebrow goes up. So where does Trafalgar go?
We are primarily in Europe. Most of our trips are in Europe. We have over 100 throughout the European area, including Northern Africa. And then we also do a lot of trips in the United States. So national parks, Canadian Rockies, the East Coast, really cool trips there. South and Central America, and Asia and Australia. So pretty much everywhere except for the Caribbean and Antarctica.
So all my pictures are basically from the Caribbean. Tell me what you guys do in the United States.
The United States is a cool place, and I know a lot of people think I don't need a guided vacation of the U.S.
I'm from here. I don't
speak
need
the language.
That.
Yeah, I know the money. I get it. One of the best examples of what we do, though, is out in the national parks. We have a 15-day trip called Scenic Parks Explorer, and you do every park from Yellowstone down to the Grand Canyon.
Oh, wow.
And if you think about the distances you're covering on that trip, you're covering over 3,000 miles. And if you were to do that on your own, you would have to drive it. Yes. Or, again, you get to sit back in the coach and relax and just enjoy everywhere that you're going.
I can take pictures and Snapchat.
Exactly. You can take pictures, you can relax. And the other thing I find is when we travel on our own, we have this idea of what we want to do. Mm-hmm. And then by day 6, we're like, oh, we're tired. I don't want to spend 200 miles to get out to Monument Valley. How much do I really want to see that? And then we kind of decide whether we want to or not. Most of the time we'll cut it out. This way you're getting everything because you don't have to worry about the distances. It's already done for you, which is awesome.
So when I'm talking to people about travel, we visited San Francisco several years ago. Not that long ago. It was my 40th birthday. It was just a couple years ago. And we saw a bridge, and I said, I don't think that is the San Francisco Bridge, the Golden Gate Bridge. And my husband, in his infinite wisdom, said, no, that's the bridge. It's the bridge. That's the only bridge I see. It has to be the Golden Gate Bridge. And I said, I think it's a different color. And he said, they're probably painting it. It was the Oakland Bridge. So we went to the other part of San Francisco, and it was several days. And had we not stayed an extra day, we had thought we had seen the Golden Gate Bridge when we had not. Somebody's infinite wisdom. So that doesn't happen on a Trafalgar tour.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're always taking you to the key sites. The other thing that we do, which is cool, I think, in San Francisco specifically, so we not only make sure that you're seeing the right Golden Gate Bridge, but we also go to this really cool area in the financial district, and it's this park which is completely surrounded by the giant sequoias. So unless you're from there, you don't even know where it is. And once you walk in through the trees, it's like you're isolated. You're in your own little bubble.
Is it across the thing, or is it in the financial district?
It's in the financial district, and it's got these great statues, and there's some cool stuff that's going on. So we're always showing you something different about the places you've been to.
So tell me, if we're not in the U.S., what money do I have to bring? Do I have to exchange all that before I go? Do I get a list of stuff that I have to exchange from Trafalgar?
Before you leave, we always give you some great tips on what you need for the destination you're visiting, but that's another way that our travel directors come in handy on the trips, because let's say you're doing our Prague, Vienna, and Budapest itinerary. Those are 3 different cities in 3 different countries. Some are on the euro, some are not. They're all in the European Union, but they use different currency. So it can be really confusing. And as we go from place to place, the travel director gets you prepared and says, okay, we're going into the next location. This is the currency you need. This is how they tip. So when you go out on your own and you're in a cafe or you're having dinner, this is kind of the custom here, so you don't feel uncomfortable. And they help you that way.
Or he or she, the director says, this is how you tip. It's a general guideline. It's not a you have to, but you probably should. And this.
Yeah, exactly. Because in some countries, like in England, you round up to the next dollar. Yes. In Spain, they expect like a 10% gratuity. So it's very different where you travel, and it's nice to know what the normal custom is for locals, so that you don't stick out.
So what if I interrupted her? I'm sorry. If we're going someplace and we are. Ashley knows me very well. If we're wine and foodies.
Yep.
So if we're on a Trafalgar tour, so here you guys know, I don't want to get up early, and I like good food because I'm from New Orleans, and I like a little bit of wine or gin, depending on the video you've watched up there. So how does Trafalgar then customize an itinerary, or how do I pick a customized itinerary?
So we actually have a trip style called At Leisure, which leaves after 9 o'clock every day. So you can kind of take your own time. And what we do is we do all the key sightseeing on the first day, and then the second day you're free to explore on your own.
The whole day?
The whole day. So you have a whole day free in Rome, for instance. And what we try to do is we have some meals included, which are always going to be reflective of the destination you're traveling to. In Italy, France, Spain, and Portugal, we always include wine with those dinners from that area. So you're getting the local wine. But even on your free time, you can talk to the travel director because they're from these areas. And you can tell them, hey, we're really into food, and they can give you a list of where the locals would go, the best restaurants, the more high-end restaurants.
Is it really locals, or is it?
Truly locals. When I
Yeah.
was on my Spain trip, Celia's from Madrid. She's lived there her whole life. She was telling us about the Spanish healthcare system and the political system. So you get a whole lot of insight, not only on the destination and the things you want to see, but the people and how they live, which I think is the coolest part about land travel.
So you're not staying in an Airbnb.
No.
It's not going to be that sort of experience, but am I still going to get a local experience if I'm not staying in an apartment and I'm interfering with the local economy?
I think so more, because when you do an Airbnb, you go and stay in somebody's apartment, but you're not stepping into their life. You're not going to be hanging out with their friends. You're not living their life day to day, going to their restaurants, going to their coffee shops.
Let's say that again.
You're stepping into somebody else's life. That's not what happens on an Airbnb. You're simply renting their house. With a Trafalgar vacation, we're ensuring that you get the local immersion because we're taking you to meet local people. You will be eating local restaurants. You will be doing things that locals do because you're traveling with a local travel director.
So am I going to be eating at the Applebee's? Not that there's anything wrong with Applebee's, don't sue me. But am I going to eat at the Applebee's?
No, you're not eating at chain restaurants. You may have some lunches that are quick, that are like a little stopover on a turnpike or something like that. But for the most part, your dinners and your main meals are going to be traditional restaurants and traditional meals.
But what if you guys know Kenny Elliott, what if I want to, he's got a list of restaurants that we eat at. Mm-hmm. So do I have to stick with your list, or can I just do my thing?
You can do your own thing. So you can choose to do as much or as little of the trip as you want. If you don't want to have dinner with the group one night, that's fine. Go off and do your own thing. And if you need recommendations, we can always make that. And I've actually got a great example of this. When I went to Spain the very first time, we were in Granada, which is one of my favorite towns. And we were talking to our travel director, Raphael, and we said, we want to go out for like a really nice dinner. And he said, I got the perfect place. So he actually called a taxi for us, told them how to get us to where we needed to go. We went to a restaurant called Juan Ramon, and it was phenomenal food. And it overlooked the Alhambra Palace at night, all lit up. It was spectacular. And when I went back to Spain this time, I actually found that restaurant and went back because it was so great.
Oh, so you did twice and you didn't have to.
Exactly. It was so fantastic. And those are the kinds of things that you get, the insight that you get from being able to travel with local.
So Ashley has to go. She's very busy. But I have one more question. Mm-hmm. Tell me about Be My Guest.
Be My Guest is something that we include as part of our Real Thing experiences. So part of that immersion that I was talking about is going into a local's home, and we do over 100 of them. They're all exclusive to our trips, and they range from going to somebody's bee farm and learning about keeping bees, to visiting a family of royal descent in India, or going to Beatrice's farm in France where she makes goat cheese for us. And we get to sit down, we have a meal, we get to talk with Beatrice, and we get to hear her stories, and she chats with everybody. And I think the best part of the Be My Guest is that as travelers, we're really excited to meet them and to experience it, but they love getting to know every guest. They ask you questions about where you're from.
So they're not on a timetable saying,
not
get out of my house.
No, they would meet you and say, tell me what New Orleans is like, tell me what the city is, if I ever travel there, what should I go see? So they want to know just as much about us as we do about them. So it's a real exchange of culture, which is really cool.
Before we let Ashley go, there was a funny story she told me, and I'm going to ask her to tell it to you. Tell me about the bee farts.
So One of our Be My Guest experiences that I did in April was probably one of my favorites. And we were traveling in the Salzburg area. So setting of The Sound of Music, right? That's where they filmed the whole movie with Julie Andrews and the kids. And we're leaving the city and we're traveling outside of town about 15.
People were hiding themselves in the curtains.
Yep, 15 to 20 minutes. We're driving outside through the hills. We arrive at the Kushofer family farm. And Simon and Brigitte own this farm and they raise bees. They make honey from it. And as we're getting to know them, they take us through where the bees live. And then Simon takes us into this different area where there's these lounges and these boxes next to each lounge. And he's telling us how they've discovered that
I gotta do this.
Inhaling the essence of bee helps with breathing issues. So if you have bronchitis,
it's a bee fart.
It's a bee fart. It's the essence of the bee, but it helps asthma, bronchitis, some of these breathing issues. So again, something that would never be FDA approved, I'm sure, but really fascinating to hear about.
And you're not going to get it if you just go to Salzburg. You're not going to get that.
No, you definitely can't show up at their farm and hear about the bee farts. And after that, we actually went in. Brigitte had made us a traditional Austrian meal with schnitzel and dumplings. We had wine, we had beer, we had strudel. It was amazing.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. I'm ready to go. How about you? All right, Ashley. Thank you for your time today.